It is 3 in the morning in Busan. A young woman with a bob haircut is skipping down a quiet street. She is dragging a massive, heavy rolling suitcase behind her, but she moves with a light, surprisingly rhythmic energy. She hails a taxi and asks to be dropped off at a remote park near the Nakdong River. The driver watches her disappear into the tall grass with that heavy luggage, but his intuition tells him something is wrong. No one goes on vacation to a dark riverbank at 3 a.m. He alerts the police. When investigators search the field, they find the suitcase. It does not contain clothes or personal belongings. It contains the dismembered remains of a young woman. Jang Yu-jung was arrested 5 hours later. When she finally confessed, she offered a single explanation for the crime. "I just wanted to see what it feels like to kill." The quote went viral immediately. News outlets framed Yu-jung as a true crime obsessive, someone whose morbid hobby had finally crossed the line into a real-world murder. But criminal psychologists warn against accepting this soundbite. Blindly believing a pathological liar prevents us from seeing the behavioral patterns that actually drove her to the park that night. This is the cityscape of Busan. In an environment this dense and hyper-connected, it is nearly impossible to go unnoticed. Digital forensics initially seemed to support Yu-jung's curiosity claim. Investigators found she had spent months searching for tips on how to dismember a body and how to hide a corpse. Then they searched her phone. They found a digital void. No contacts, no messages, no social media. She had spent 5 years in total social isolation, effectively living as a ghost, severing all ties while staying in her grandfather's apartment. Without peers or social anchors to ground her, she existed in a vacuum. Her dark fixations were allowed to develop without any friction or correction from reality. A second theory suggests this was not a random act of curiosity. It may have been a targeted strike fueled by intense jealousy. Yu-jung was unemployed and had failed multiple job interviews, often refusing to speak to the recruiters. Her victim, Hannah, was a successful university student and a sought-after English tutor, the exact life Yu-jung lacked. Following the murder, Yu-jung stayed inside Hannah's apartment for hours. She eventually walked out wearing the victim's clothes. Her digital history showed she had watched a specific thriller multiple times. The plot follows a woman who murders others to steal their identities and escape her own life. When the police questioned her, she offered a series of lies. She claimed it was her baby, then claimed she was the cleaner, before finally claiming self-defense. This creates a puzzle. We have to decide if her stated curiosity was a genuine impulse or a calculated cover for a botched attempt to occupy a peer's life. The police eventually broke her cycle of lies by bringing in her grandfather. He was the only person she had any connection with, and his pleas finally forced her confession. To move past her shifting stories, experts used the Hare psychopathy checklist. This 20-point tool assesses traits like grandiosity, impulsivity, and a total lack of remorse. On this scale, the average person scores around a 5. The clinical threshold for psychopathy is 25. Yu-jung hit a 28. This score places her among some of the most dangerous psychological profiles in criminal history. For comparison, Ted Bundy scored a 39 on this same assessment. John Wayne Gacy scored a 27, 1 point lower than Yu-jung. Her behavior in jail matched the data. She ate well, slept soundly, and showed no remorse. When she addressed the media, she appeared to mimic the polite apologies she had seen in other criminal documentaries. The clinical reality of her psychopathy suggests her media consumption was secondary. This internal lack of empathy provided the impulse for the crime, making her stated motives completely unreliable. We will likely never get a definitive answer for her motive. A pathological liar with this psychological profile does not offer the truth. Instead, the case highlights a systemic flaw. The tutoring app Hannah used verified the tutor's credentials to protect the client, but it performed no checks on the people entering those tutors' homes. This is a street in Busan. It is filled with physical security and surveillance, but these systems are designed to track movement only after a crime has occurred. Modern technology can connect us and monitor our physical paths, but it creates deep blind spots. It remains incapable of detecting the psychological descent of the ghosts living right next door.